Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the New York Napoleons Week 8 team builder of the CGT. We are here this week taking on the Austin Tauros, coached by Sally Mumble. If you have not checked them out, go check them out. Link is in the description below, as are all the coaches in the CGT this season. And from what my season's going like right now, there's not going to be much more of that. So you want to check them out now because there won't be a whole lot of videos uploaded to this channel. Although if I can get a win here, we are not eliminated from playoffs yet, which is kind of wild. Anyway, if I lose, I think I'm out. But we are in a weird situation where last week I did not have a lot of time to prep. I admit, this is a part of the season where I should be prepping hard, I should be pushing myself, and I didn't have any time. Now, normally what happens is I build my teams in waves. The first wave is where I come up with all the stupid ideas. Then I do mocks with my front office and realize half of those ideas won't work. And then I revamp, but I keep some of the weird ideas and bring in some normal ideas. I didn't have time to do the mocks this week to tell me that my bad ideas were bad. And sometimes they're not bad. Sometimes they all work and I just roll with it. So we're going to hope, beyond all hope, that this team does what I want it to. With all knowledge that in all likelihood that is not going to happen. But if I'm going to get back into playoffs, I'm going to do it my way. And this is how I do it. This is where it starts. If I win this battle, I'm going all the way this season. And you could count on that. So what is going to happen here? My opponent's team is Tapu Koko, Sceptile, Latias, Zarude, Magmar, Porygon Z, Pinsir, Mamoswine, Lantern, Scizor, Weezing, and Mudsdale. And one thing I really quickly noticed was Trick Room seems really good. Trick Room seems really good, and a couple other options seem really strong. The resists here aren't, there's not that many Pokemon that resist certain types, and they're not actually going to come. I'm hoping they don't come this week. So depending on what happens, and I'll talk about it later, this team could go absolutely nuts, or it could just fall flat in its face. And I'm not sure which one's going to happen, because I actually haven't done any mocks with this team. So, right off the bat, we've got Stakataka, which is a Trick Room setter. It is Gyro Ball, Trick Room, Rock Blast, and Light Screen. My opponent has very few resists to its dual stabs. In fact, I don't know if there's anything that loves taking its stab combination very well. Mudsdale would be the best switch into this, hands down. But I do have answers to Mudsdale, and so I will be able to beat it 1v1 if the situation calls for it. And I did have a couple ways of potentially beating Mudsdale with other Mons. I really considered things like Xatu coming in on the Mudsdale every time and taking the Toxic, flipping it back, and then teleporting out so the Mudsdale can never get a hit on the Slowbro, and running enough speed on Slowbro to outspeed Mudsdale and catch it and sub, and go with a sub Nasty Plot Slowbro. All of that went through my mind. That's the level, we're talking that level of prep. That's my first thoughts when I see a team like this, and it got worse from there. That would have been normal. That would have been acceptable. But anyway, we ended up on a Trick Room Slowbro with Teleport. And his Trick Room Teleport called an Ice Beam Slowbro with a Life Orb. So we are going to be rocking out with that set, hopefully getting in enough damage with the Slowbro to justify it being incredibly useful throughout the week, throughout this matchup, since the combination of Scald and Ice Beam do a ton of damage to my opponent. Very few things want to take both. Lantern is a nuisance, but if I can set up a Trick Room and then teleport out on the Lantern, I should be okay. And this thing has a very specific job, and I'll talk about that in a second. Because next up we have Bulk Up, Substitute, Reversal, Acrobatics, Pataya Berry, no, Salakberry. Pataya wouldn't make any sense. Salakberry on the Galarian Zapdos. Just double checking, I am actually Salakberry. I am. So we want to sub. We want to try to bulk up if they're leaving me with sub. If they're not, just go down, down, down. Get that Select to pop, outspeed everything, and then kill it all with Reversal when I'm at 1 HP? Hopefully? Anything that resists Reversal, like the Pinsir and the Weezing, don't really appreciate taking a Acrobatics, especially if I can get a bulk up off or two. So this is a chance to just go in and sweep. It also is a chance to do nothing if there's a Scarf Latias or something, but hey, you gotta try something somewhere, right? So Bulk Up, Substitute, Galarian Zapdos here. I'm hoping that does a lot of work here. Next up is my Heliolisk. It is Solar Power this week. That is a little spoiler for what's about to happen. And we've got U-Turn because there's a lot of electric immunities here. Hyper Voice and Weather Ball are the two offensive options. Hyper Voice is really, really good this week. I just think it's incredibly spammable. The only resist is Scizor. So everything else I'm just going to be spamming with Hyper Voice over and over and over. And then we've got Glare in the last slot. which is good speed control this week. Catches things like the Mamoswine that might want to switch in and just be like annoying. Catches things like the Sceptile that might be like, ooh, I can come in on a Hyper Voice and get an Unburden pop and be incredibly fast. Or the Latios, again, that can like switch in on a U-turn or something. So Galar is just going to be super helpful for speed control in that regard. And I'm Pataya Berry because I'm Solar Power, and I'm going to be taking damage the whole game. And maybe get myself into Pataya range and just start killing things. We'll see. That's the plan, though. This doesn't really need any specific item. I would have been Assault Vest if I didn't want to run Glare this week, but I couldn't come up with another like move that did as much as Glare did for me in this matchup. So opted for the Pataya instead, just to try to get that extra special attack boost if I'm at low health, to try to kill certain, slower threats that wouldn't be able to hit me with priority. Things like Mudsdale to break through it, or Zarude to like really punch through that. So those kind of options. It didn't choice me into anything, but it gave me a sort of an out, especially if I can take one hit from something, which depending on what the mon is, I might be able to do. As I mentioned, we are running the Sun this week in Torkoal. This is a Earth Power and Lava Plume with Stealth Rock, and it's got Shell Smash with Trick Room with an Eject Pack. So the idea here is I'm going to click Stealth Rocks with Torkoal early in the game. That's fine. Later in the game, whenever the situation comes up for it, if the situation comes up for it, and that is a pretty big if here. The thing here is the only mon on the entirety of my opponent's roster that can take a +2 Eruption in Trick Room, or not +2, but 2 eruptions in Trick Room is Latios. It's the only mon that can survive 2 eruptions in Sun specs from this Torkoal. So I'm hoping my opponent will prep for something like specs Torkoal, and I can Shell Smash. Latios gets forced in, I use my Eject Pack, and it brings me into Sylveon. And if Trick Room is up, Sylveon underspeeds the Latios and clicks Copycat, thereby getting its own Shell Smash. I'm White Herb on the Sylveon, so I don't have the defense drops. And then I can just win the game. Does that sound ambitious to anybody else? Because I think it's going to work. You got to really pray for it to work because, again, this thing is so good in this matchup. Hyper Voice does so much work. Mystical Fire catches things like the Scizor. One of the defense drop. Obviously, Bullet Punch is a pain, but it couldn't be Babiri Berry for a set like this. So this is going to be an interesting one. Let me tell you. And if push comes to shove, I do still have access to the Torkoal clicking Shell Smash of its own later in the game without the Eject Pack. And because Scizor, if it locks up into Bullet Punch, Torkoal comes in and just sets up another Shell Smash in front of that. The Sun is also really good for the Heliolisk, and I do have access to Trick Room in another world where I need it. So this is going to be an ambitious team. This team is ridiculous. It's not supposed to be a meme, more of a rough draft. But my rough drafts sometimes come out and put in a ton of work. So it's all the time I had this week was to make like one team and not really prep multiple versions of it. So this is the team we're going to be running with. If it works, I'm basically retiring. This is going to be my crowning achievement. If it doesn't work, that's sort of what I expect. But I'm obviously not retiring if it works. I'm going to win this league. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys all back here tomorrow with that battle. Take care, everybody.